I mean, you guys at breakneck speed found this guy, you identified him, you profiled the type of person that he would be, and that's incredible. Is there more evidence that you guys can offer to people, maybe video from that roof? Do you expect that there will be more to be released?
I think the best thing we can do for Charlie, especially me as FBI director and our team, is to prosecute this case in the courts of law, wherever it is, in Utah, in the state of court of law. And what we're going to do is what we've done. Give them every piece of evidence we collect. Our cellular analysis systems are the best in the world, and that's what the FBI does, and that's what we flew in and did. That's how we led the manhunt and got him in 33 short hours. And every single piece of video or forensic evidence or witness interview, we've done dozens and dozens, gone on these platforms, found every single person. All of that material, and I know this is frustrating to the public, and I understand it, but I'm not going to allow the Charlie Kirk prosecution to be dismantled because we want to get over our skis and publicize information. That is the one thing you cannot do. We will make everything public in court. It just takes time.
It does. Yeah, it always does in these cases. Is there any possibility that other people were involved? When you talked at the White House, I sort of got a little inkling that maybe you're looking at other people.
We're looking at everyone that was there, that was online, and we're looking to refer these matters to the state prosecution authorities when there's enough evidence. But the reality is, again, with social media, when you have hysterical conspiracy theories filling the void, you're harming Charlie and his family and a rightful prosecution of his alleged assassin, who we have in custody, and rightly so, in my opinion. And if anyone helped him, do you think that we at this FBI are literally going to let them get away with it? Us standing silent in the face of growing conspiracy theories, that's what we do to shut down a faulty prosecution. That's what we do to shut down a system of justice that wants to be exploited by these same anarchists. And that's what they're doing. They're bringing it to social media. They're bringing it online for clickbait, and we're not going to take it. We don't care what you say about me or Dan Bongino.
Before we begin, take a moment to remember the name Charlie Kirk, not just as a conservative activist, not just the founder of Turning Point USA, but as a voice that shaped an entire generation. He stood for freedom, faith, and fearless conversation. Whether you agreed with him or not, Charlie represented something bigger, the courage to speak when it wasn't convenient. And that's why what happened to him isn't just another story. It's a wound in the conscience of a nation. On September 10th, at what was supposed to be a peaceful campus event, that courage was silenced by a single gunshot. But in the days that followed, something even darker emerged. A wave of confusion, contradiction, and official silence. First, the FBI under Director Patel announced they had the suspect in custody. Hours later, that claim was walked back. Then came whispers of evidence, digital confessions, DNA matches, all shared, retracted, reshaped. And now, a promise: every piece of evidence will be laid bare in court on October 30th. So the question remains, why the silence? Why did an institution that prides itself on truth and transparency choose secrecy when the nation was watching? What's behind the contradictions, and what exactly will be revealed when the court doors finally open? This is more than a murder investigation. It's a moment of truth, not just for the FBI, not just for Patel, but for every institution that claims to serve justice, and for every citizen who refuses to let the truth be buried. If you believe truth still matters, if you believe silence should never win, stay till the end of this video. Hit subscribe, tap the notification bell, and share this with one person who still believes that accountability should be louder than politics. Because when the truth is delayed, it's not just the case that suffers, it's our faith in justice itself. It was supposed to be another one of Charlie's signature events, the Prove Me Wrong Tour, where he engaged students in open dialogue. The location: Utah Valley University, September 10th, 2025. The atmosphere charged, passionate but peaceful, until it wasn't. Midway through the session, gunfire erupted from a nearby building. Panic set in, security rushed the stage, and within seconds, chaos consumed the auditorium. Witnesses say they saw a single figure fleeing the rooftop of a nearby parking structure, a figure that would soon become the center of a national manhunt. Hours later, FBI Director Patel, newly appointed and known for his fiery public presence, announced online that the subject is in custody. For a brief moment, it seemed justice had come swiftly, but that announcement didn't last long. Within hours, the Bureau quietly corrected the record. The individual detained had been questioned and released. No arrest, no name, no clarity. That single contradiction ignited a storm across social media, news outlets, and within the Bureau itself. Days later, the actual suspect emerged. Tyler Robinson, 22 years old, a college dropout from Idaho, reportedly quiet, reclusive, and active in several online political chat rooms. A relative recognized his image from surveillance photos and turned him in. He was taken into custody without resistance, and from there the pieces started falling into place. Once in custody, investigators began connecting physical evidence that had been collected at the scene. A rifle, found abandoned near the campus perimeter, was wrapped in a towel, and according to the FBI, DNA recovered from that towel matched Tyler Robinson. Nearby, a screwdriver was found on the rooftop believed to be the sniper's firing point. That, too, tested positive for Robinson's DNA. But perhaps the most chilling discovery came from what was nearly destroyed. A burned note, reconstructed using forensic imaging and chemical restoration, allegedly contained the words, "Take out Charlie Kirk." And that wasn't all. According to digital forensics experts, Robinson had allegedly written a message in a private Discord group the night before his arrest. "Hey guys, I have bad news for you all. It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all of this." If that message proves authentic, it could represent one of the most direct confessions in recent political crime history. Still, despite the apparent clarity of evidence, the timeline of communication, how Patel handled it, when the FBI shared updates, and what was held back, left many uneasy. Kash Patel has stood firmly by his approach. He claims he chose transparency, that he didn't want another era of secrecy and speculation surrounding the Bureau's investigations. He defended his decision to speak early, insisting it came from a place of openness, not politics. But that explanation didn't silence the criticism. Even among Patel's allies in conservative circles, there were questions: why speak before evidence was fully confirmed? Why announce an arrest that wasn't real? And why weeks later, does the story still have more questions than clarity? As the backlash grew, Patel was summoned before the Senate Judiciary Committee, where lawmakers pressed him about the Bureau's credibility and whether his leadership style had turned a tragedy into a political lightning rod. He denied wrongdoing, but promised that on October 30th, every piece of evidence will be presented in court, and the truth will speak for itself. That statement set the stage for the moment the world is now waiting for. This, what we've just covered, is not rumor, not theory, not online chatter. This is what's on the record: the who, the when, the what, and the public admissions. But the real question now isn't what happened. It's why it happened the way it did. Why the contradictions, the silence, and the selective transparency from the very people tasked with telling us the truth. And that's where we go next. When a case like this explodes into the national spotlight, silence can be deafening. But silence from law enforcement isn't always emptiness. Sometimes it's strategy. The question is, whose strategy was it? Because every decision the FBI made after the Charlie Kirk shooting, every delayed statement, every contradiction, every no comment, carried weight. And whether that silence came from wisdom or weakness is what millions are now asking. Let's look at what might really be happening beneath the surface. Traditionally, the FBI is slow to speak. They build cases layer by layer, making sure evidence is bulletproof before going public. Announcing a suspect too early can destroy an entire prosecution. It can taint juries, compromise investigations, or even lead to wrongful accusations. But under Director Kash Patel, things changed. Patel promised transparency. He vowed to tell America what we're doing. No more secrecy, no more shadow investigations. And for a moment that sounded refreshing, until it backfired. When Patel tweeted that the subject was in custody, before the facts were fully verified, it sent shockwaves through the media and the Bureau itself. Within hours, the story flipped: the man in custody had been released. One mistake, one premature announcement, and suddenly the credibility of the entire investigation was in question. That single misstep became a symbol of the tension Patel created, the clash between transparency and timing, openness and order. And when those lines blur, the public doesn't just lose patience, they lose trust. There's another layer, one that rarely gets talked about. Silence sometimes isn't about protecting the guilty, it's about protecting the process. If investigators suspect that Tyler Robinson didn't act alone, if there were collaborators, financiers, or even digital accomplices, speaking too early could blow the entire operation. Once suspects know the Bureau's hand, they hide, they delete, they vanish. Sources close to Patel claim that there were multiple persons of interest connected to a Discord group where Robinson reportedly discussed violent plans. That means ongoing surveillance, tracing encrypted messages, following money trails, all things that demand secrecy. So yes, the silence may have been strategic, but when institutions go quiet to protect investigations, they must still communicate enough to protect trust. Because when silence lasts too long, people don't assume wisdom, they assume deceit. Kash Patel isn't just a law enforcement figure, he's a communicator. He understands the power of narrative, of owning the message before others twist it. But in the digital age, the line between owning the narrative and managing optics is razor thin. Every hour the Bureau stayed silent, the vacuum filled itself, with podcasts, TikToks, Reddit threads, and YouTube speculations. Some meant well, others didn't. And soon the investigation wasn't just about who killed Charlie Kirk, but about whether the FBI was hiding something. That's the risk Patel walked straight into. When you announce too much, you look reckless. When you announce too little, you look corrupt. And between those two perceptions, reckless or corrupt, the truth often gets crushed. Still, Patel insisted, "We'll speak in court, not in the press." That may be sound legal advice. But in an era where headlines move faster than justice, silence can be its own scandal. Now let's set aside the politics and remember the people. While agencies debate protocol, there's a family grieving in silence. Charlie's wife, his children, his close friends, his team. They've watched the world dissect his death like a puzzle, while they still mourn the person behind the headlines. For them, every delayed update isn't a tactical move. It's another night without closure. Every contradiction isn't a PR problem. It's another wound reopened. So yes, maybe the FBI's silence was strategic. Maybe it was cautious. Maybe it even protects future prosecutions. But silence has a moral cost, because when people are hurting, withholding truth, even for good reason, still feels like betrayal. And to the so-called online conspiracy theorists, who twist every pause into proof of corruption, you are not helping the truth. You are weaponizing grief. Misinterpretation may be foolish, but abandonment, that's cruel. If the system must be silent, let it be silent with purpose, not indifference. Let that silence still carry compassion, not coldness. So maybe the Bureau stayed silent, not out of cowardice, but out of caution, not out of malice, but out of method. Still, intention doesn't erase impact. When truth is withheld, even for strategy, the public loses faith. And once trust breaks, no evidence, no press release, no court verdict can easily repair it. October 30th will tell us whether that silence was wisdom or fear. Either way, America deserves an answer. Mark that date down, October 30th, because that's when silence ends. That's when every whispered rumor, every unanswered question, every shadow of doubt meets its test in the light of evidence. Kash Patel and the FBI have made a very specific promise. Every piece of evidence will be laid bare in court. That means the public will finally see everything. The forensic data, the digital footprints, the witness statements, the motive, and perhaps even the names of accomplices who may have helped or known what was coming. It's more than a trial date. It's a reckoning. Because October 30th isn't just about convicting a suspect. It's about whether America can still believe in its own justice system. For Patel, this moment could define his entire career. If the FBI's evidence holds, if it's clear, transparent, and undeniable, then this could become the day the Bureau begins to win back public trust. It could silence months of baseless theories, restore faith in process, and remind the world that truth still has a place in American justice. But if the evidence is thin, if critical details are missing, if certain files are not ready, or still under review, then the silence of the past weeks will echo even louder. Because the world won't just see a legal proceeding. They'll see a pattern, an institution that promised answers, but delivered ambiguity, a system that spoke of transparency, but still kept the truth behind locked doors. And that's why October 30th matters so deeply. It's not about politics anymore. It's not about headlines or hashtags. It's about trust. When Patel walks into that courtroom, he's not just presenting evidence, he's presenting the integrity of the FBI itself. Every exhibit, every timestamp, every statement will either rebuild confidence or confirm suspicion. For Charlie Kirk's family, that day represents something sacred: closure. For the investigators, it's vindication or exposure. For the nation, it's a test of whether truth still wins in a world of noise. So when October 30th arrives, don't just scroll past the headlines. Watch closely, listen carefully, because what happens that day won't just decide a case, it'll decide who still gets to define the truth. Let's be clear, no one is demanding perfection. The public isn't asking investigators to never make mistakes, to never stumble, or to never face uncertainty. But what people do deserve is clarity. Because when your role is to guard justice, when lives, reputations, and families hang in the balance, every delay, every contradiction, isn't just a procedural flaw, it's a breach of trust. If your job is to protect the innocent, then every silence speaks louder than your speeches. Every no comment becomes an answer in itself. When the FBI promised answers, the nation leaned in and waited. When those answers came out fragmented and conflicting, that silence began to wound. And not just the system, but the families still trying to make sense of what was taken from them. To those calling for transparency, listen closely. You are not enemies of law and order. You are its conscience. You are the reason justice still means something beyond paperwork and press conferences. Because accountability isn't rebellion, it's reverence. It's the belief that truth should not hide behind red tape or political timing. So let's ask the question that cuts through the noise: which is worse, a few days of delay in releasing the truth, or a lifetime of doubt for the grieving? Those leading this investigation must understand. Their silence does not protect justice. It erodes it. Their hesitation doesn't calm the storm. It fuels it. If you claim to have the evidence, show it. If your case is strong, prove it. Lay it bare, not to feed public curiosity, but to honor the trust that gave you authority in the first place. Because the families deserve closure. The nation deserves truth. And the badge, that symbol of justice, deserves to mean something again. This isn't about vengeance. It's about integrity. It's about ensuring that those who guard the truth never become its gatekeepers. Justice doesn't fear the light. It requires it. And so to every official, every investigator, every leader who's promised answers, understand this: the people are watching, not with hatred, but with hope. Hope that when the truth finally stands trial, you will stand with it, not in its way. So here we are, standing at the edge of October 30th, a date marked not by spectacle, but by expectation. The nation has heard promises before, but this time, the wait is different. Because this isn't just about the FBI, it isn't just about Kash Patel, and it isn't even just about the man whose life was taken too soon, Charlie Kirk. It's about whether truth still matters when the cameras are gone and the microphones are off. We, the public, are not spectators in this story. We are the witnesses who must stay awake. We will watch October 30th. We will demand that justice is not merely claimed, but shown. Yes, share the facts. Ask the questions. But do so with wisdom, not fury. Because real accountability dies when speculation replaces evidence, and emotion drowns out truth. Let's not be the crowd that shouts over justice. Let's be the conscience that insists it is done right. When you share this story, do it to awaken others, not to inflame. Because preserving faith in justice is not naive, it is necessary. If we lose the expectation that truth must be revealed, we lose the very heartbeat of the system we built to protect it. And so to everyone listening, whether the evidence on October 30th convicts or surprises, whether it confirms what we feared or challenges what we believed, silence will no longer be tolerated. We will not surrender to confusion. We will not allow truth to be buried beneath official phrases or media fatigue. Civil faith demands a moment of truth, and that moment must come. Let October 30th be that moment. A day when light replaces rumor, when facts replace fear, and when justice at last speaks for itself. Because truth, no matter how delayed, is still the only verdict that heals a nation.